How you doing?
Okay, well, we'll let everybody who was in the previous session leave and welcome in our next lot for our next session. Wonderful. Okay. Great. Let's start letting in. Okay, so we will begin. Hello, everybody. I'm June Sarpong, and I am going to be chairing this discussion on equity over endorsements and how to back influence-driven ventures. I think we're going to shake things up a bit, gentlemen. I think our topic is even more fun, if I may add. So I am joined by four extraordinary men who are really shaking up the idea of what it means to ensure that high-profile talent is not just used as the face of, but also really invests and becomes part of a business's growth strategy. So a new generation of celebrity athlete investors is blurring the lines between cultural influence and venture capital. Their ability to drive the narrative, shape consumer behavior, and attract talent is making them pivotal players in brand building and startup growth. Equity for influence deals offers the potential for authentic engagement and exponential reach, but also to raise a complex question around governance, value attribution, and also what it means regarding success and how designing partnerships that convert cultural capital into sustainable enterprise growth is key in terms of creating transparent accountability. So joining me for this session, to my left, I have Juan Delgado, CEO of Football Co., a global media network monetizing fandom across football culture. Next to him, we have Marc Lotenberg, founder and CEO and chairman of Dorsia, which blends luxury media, hospitality, and data-driven consumer tech. Next to him, we have Isaiah Kasivensky.
Perfect.
Look at that. I'm proud of myself there. Who is a founding partner of Will Ventures, which is an athlete investor, bridging performance, purpose, and portfolio building company. And then next to him, we have Ibrahim Sagna, executive chairman of Silverbacks Holding, a cross-regional investor linking African, European, and MENA influence platforms. Welcome, gentlemen. Lovely to have you all here. What would be wonderful is to start with each of you, in a nutshell, for no more than 2 minutes, please, talking about your businesses, what they do, and what you're seeing in this particular landscape. So Juan, I'll start with you first.
Sure. We're the largest digital football publisher on earth. What that means is that we reach more people, both on web, app, or social media, than any entity, be that a big European club like Real Madrid or Barcelona, or any league like the Premier League or Champions League, measured by audience or revenue. The consumer brands that people may be more familiar with in this room would be Goal.com, which is still the largest website and social community in football, and for the Arabic speakers, Quora, which we acquired a couple of years ago, and it is the largest sports publisher in the Arabic world.
Wow, fantastic. Marc?
Yeah, we're Dorsia. We're helping people live a better life, as we like to say, starting with one reservation at a time. We built a platform that's a members-based platform to connect people for reservations, experiences, events that are very hard to get. And we built a global wallet that makes it all happen. So it's very similar to Uber in that way, where you book and you just get up and leave when you're done. You're not dealing with payments or anything like that. But with this, it happens to be like the hardest to get restaurants or the hardest to get music experience or art festivals. So if you want to go to, say, Art Basel before it opens, you're getting the pass through us. If you want to go to, FII, next year we're doing a great event, or any types of experiences like that. We provide the access, and it's a members-based platform. So what we did is connect the supply side we're going to curate the members by different tiers. So that way for if I just like there's different rooms and podiums and everyone has different access, we curated the membership based on different access so they can align with our set. So, that's how we're looking at it and being this global wallet to kind of power everything.
Fantastic. Thank you. Azar?
Yeah, so one of the founders of Will Ventures, we are early stage venture capital focused on sports, media, entertainment, and consumer. And really can have flexibility anywhere from pre-seed to Series A. And really touch sports was a long time perceived niche market. Touch sports as well as adjacent markets as well. So anywhere from net new emerging leagues to 80% of what we're going to do is be tech-enabled businesses, from youth sports to influencer-led brands, which I know is part of the discussion today, to fantasy sports, real money gaming as well, health, wellness, longevity, human performance. It really can cover a wide variety of different types of business models, almost a natural diversification. We're in our third fund, and we've got offices in Boston, New York, San Francisco, LA. I think one thing to add, I played in the NFL for 8 years as a linebacker, never a superstar, grinded out 8 years, but started investing when I was a player 22 years ago, my third year in the league, and embedding into those companies in the off season, learning like a fly on the wall, and really started to understand, feed this level of curiosity, but understand kind of the mindset on that shift over and preparing for a transition, and talk to a ton of players now. And we've backed a bunch of influencer-led brands I know we can get to as well, and I can walk through a couple examples of athletes as influencers that really disrupt a different e-commerce model, right?
Yeah.
Disrupting that across the board.
Fantastic. Ibrahim?
So our firm is called Silverbacks.
Yep.
Today is actually our 6th anniversary.
Congratulations.
So
Happy birthday.
Thank you. We always celebrate it at FII. And when we were created 6 years ago, we had a very simple idea that we took extremely seriously, which is that technology, which is advanced, was enabling entrepreneurs that were residing in Africa or in the Middle East or in Asia an incredible opportunity to expand their business globally. We know many example of that, one of them being TikTok, born in China, but used by all of us. And we believe that many other geographies can produce the same without necessarily having a government giving birth to it. So we want it to be that force. We view the firm as a verb and the entrepreneur as the subject, and our investors as the complement. And our job is to really enable the best sentences of expansion of African businesses or Middle Eastern businesses to expand. So the last 6 years, we've been able to erect the platform around 4 sectors: tech, entertainment, sports, and media. And within those adjacencies, we've been deploying a lot. The largest exposure we have is in a fintech company that was on plenary this morning. This move that started with $4 million in revenue when we came in. And then today it's doing $400 million. It has Uber, Mubadala, BlackRock as investors. And the founder was speaking this morning where basically 6 months ago, Waymo appointed them as the only 9 parties expanding Waymo across the globe. So they're doing Phoenix, Miami, and they're going to be the one doing Waymo in London and in other parts. So what we've successfully done, we've put $40 million behind him, is doing the same in other similar businesses, which are younger in terms of revenue performance. But within sports, where we basically partnered with the NBA, we took 20% of the South African team that participated in that African tournament called Cape Town Tigers. We also invested in a sports tech business that improves your mitochondria, which helps your health and so forth, but completely developed out of South Africa with a view to develop it globally using athletes, different star athletes in Africa and globally. And last but not least, we took also about 20% of an African-born fighting tradition that's similar to UFC. And
What is that?
it's called Africa Warriors Fighting Championship.
Wow.
We started 6 years ago. And within the 6 years, we managed to get Stake to be a sponsor, providing British pounds as revenue. We managed to be the first partner of The Zone, which is backed by PIF here in Nigeria. So our content is broadcasted there. And we get also those revenue in foreign exchange. So imagine the content, the work, the talent is all remunerated in local currency, but the entire revenue is in foreign form.
Yeah.
And the largest viewership of those matches after the US and Nigeria is actually Brazil.
Wow.
A lot of people forget that Brazil has 100 million black
Black
people.
people, yeah.
So the number one concentration of black people is Nigeria. The
Number
second
two,
is
Brazil.
Ethiopia. And then somehow Brazil shows up. And Brazil found this content. And actually, Stake came to us to basically capture that intersection.
Wow.
Just the strange things that happen with technology.
Fantastic. I mean, what you're all doing is so exciting because, you know, if we go back to the sort of earlier examples of this, and we were talking in the pre-briefing session, when you look at Fred Perry, who obviously was a tennis player, and people don't even realize that when you're wearing the brand, or even Lacoste, and more recent examples such as Jordan, and then now the ones that we all know, like LeBron and Jay-Z and so on. I think there is a sort of preconception sometimes that it's not a serious business because it's a celebrity talent. And I wonder, how have you all been able to sort of, because you come from, well, the three of you, and I think your story is actually very interesting, Isaiah, because you were a player before going into business. Because you come from it from a business perspective, and then you're dealing with talent. What is the hardest thing of it? What's working, and what have you found hasn't worked? I'm kind of really interested in that, and I'll come to you first, because soccer players aren't always the easiest.
Yeah, they're not. And, you know, the two consumer brands I referenced before, Goal and Quora, were born a long time ago, about 20 years ago, digital publishing only, but, you know, they're big websites. However, they relied on talent to report on what was going on on the pitch or the field. And sometimes players like our opinion, sometimes they don't. When you look at our social media reach, which actually dwarfs what we do on web and app by a few hundred million, it's way more dependent on us getting access to players and athletes.
Right.
Probably, or most of the time, to share their opinions or views on what is happening off the field, what they wear, what music they listen to, so that you move outside of the core, you know, football audience, in our case. And so,
And it's their lifestyle influence in general.
correct, because you're, you know, aiming to not just reach Heineken, which is a Champions League sponsor. You're also trying to crack some of those brands that you mentioned, like Lacoste or Crocs, for example, which is a big client of ours. And so, in order to do that, you've got to build relationships with them. You have to sometimes get them on our cap table, although that is not the case in our business. We're private equity backed, and different to Isaiah. Private equity backers usually are allergic to bringing more people into the cap table, unless you're not doing well, which we are. And so we work with them and build relationships over the long run, so that their voices, their opinions, and you know, their views on things that actually are happening off the field is what carries our brands forward. And we've actually built shows, most of them, you know, long form YouTube-led shows. We have about 15 million subs on YouTube across different brands that are the equivalents of, you know, Joe Rogan for football.
Wow.
And most of those are actually powered by ex-players who have a huge network of contacts that, you know, can get very deep into a specific topic, be that performance-based or what they do off the field, et cetera. And then we can, you know, build brands around them that we can monetize our audience with. So
Fantastic.
it's a bit of a touch and go for us.
I love it. And Mark, when we were talking before, you were saying about why it's so important to have the talent invest, and that if they don't have skin in the game, they don't take it as seriously as they should. So can you talk about the dynamics of that and how you quantify even what a talent's worth for your business?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, first I would say, the advantages and disadvantages part. I think it's a really slippery and dangerous game to play in, and I think if brands and entrepreneurs don't actually understand the space, it could be disastrous.
Yeah.
And you have to understand the different social status and what's what that person can be doing, and understanding, separating like the art from the artistry at times, which I think, like, especially with your background, you can take a example that we had is we were launching London, and we own a design magazine also, which is called Surface, and we deal with the best architects in the world and designers and everything like that. And David Adjaye, who's a good buddy of mine,
Good buddy of mine.
I think one of the best architects in the world.
Yeah.
He was doing our launch. He designed an amazing space in London,
Yeah.
and we were hosting an amazing event together. He was on the cover, whatever. I have a great relationship with him. And at that exact time, something was going down with him.
Yeah. Yep.
And if that same talent, who he is arguably one of the best in the world,
Without question.
if that was an athlete, it would have been totally fine. Blew over. Nothing would have happened. But because of so if you don't understand
The space you're
the space
in.
that you're in, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to get a celebrity, but not understanding how that all works and what could happen and the dangers and pitfalls and the timing and social climate and what's going on, you could catch yourself in a really bad deal where you just marketed this big, person. And also cultures change and ideas change. We were just talking with a very big group out here, and they were looking at development deals and how to bring celebrities in. And they were like, we want to go get Leonardo DiCaprio and Kendall Jenner. I'm just like, but why? They're like, that game was 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Like, that's not the right move for you. And they're not.
So what is the right game now then, for now?
I mean, for right now, it's like the top entrepreneurs, the billionaires are the new celebrities. Hate to say it, but it's totally true. And you're going to get a lot more because everyone wants to surround themselves around that. So if you look at a lot of these places that are doing it, where you take like Miami, which I'm from, so I'm biased.
Yes.
And some of the wealthiest people around the world have moved there. Of the top 10 people, we have 6 of the wealthiest.
You do?
Yeah. And so now everyone's gravitating towards there because they all want to kind of connect into that. And, one day you might have, Jeff Bezos at the restaurant, or Ken Griffin. You have all these different major players from all over the world residing there. So they are the new, but no one's going to care enough about like the Hollywood celebrity as much anymore.
Wow. So what you're saying is that actually the sort of quote unquote star power of the stars is waning, and it's becoming the entrepreneur power.
Elon Musk is a way bigger celebrity than many
Than
athletes.
Leo.
Yeah, for sure. Right now, you'll have people from, and it's because there's the brain power, and then one's putting rockets into space and powering all of our technology, and so there's a totally different view right now of how to capture.
I get it.
Yeah.
And the quantification in terms of one's value, quote unquote.
Yeah, we really understand. I've been in kind of, nightlife events, experiences, celebrity for a long time, so I understand how to work with the celebrities the right way. And what you asked about, getting them to pay, if they're not paying, everyone's throwing deals at them. So if they're not passionate about the deal, my first advice is don't do it.
Okay.
Because you're just going to give them shares and give them equity. They're going to phone it in. They're not going to be present. But if they're putting some cash in, even if it's 10,000, 100,000, whatever it is, some token of money, if they're literally giving $1 out of their pocket, they're going to take it a lot more seriously if you just give them shares. Because no one, think about all the stuff that you just get given away.
Yeah.
You don't value it the
I
same.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Even if it's valuable.
Totally.
Yeah, totally. So, Isaiah, if I could come to you in what you're doing with Will Ventures, I think your story is so interesting. As we touched on, you were a player, you were investing just in your sort of part time while you were playing, and then have turned this into a business. Do you find that actually the talent that you work with have a level of extra trust for you because they know you understand what it feels like to be them? Does that help what you do as somebody that oversees a venture fund?
Yeah, I think there's a flavor of that for sure. And having walked that path, having been a player, again, not a superstar, so, but this idea of just feeding a level of curiosity, and having a similar background from a lot of men and women that have grown up and made it professional sports, not across the board, but I grew up in poverty, right? Was homeless for parts of my childhood. And I knew when I was handed a signing bonus, I knew nothing, zero about finance, economics, public markets, private markets. So I spent my first 3 years in the NFL learning everything I could from the ground up.
Amazing.
And that is something that repeats itself over and over and over again. And I talk to a lot of players that realize this, want to learn more, and so I think there's an authentic connection there. And
Do a lot of them also come to you for advice, presumably?
yeah, exactly. So I think there's just like something authentic there, which is great. I was angel investing as a player, made a lot of investments, and continue to invest even after retiring. An investment in Aura Ring, which has been amazing.
Good for you.
Yeah. And then now run an institutional firm, right? And our largest backers is institutional capital, university endowments, foundations, our largest anchors. We've got great strategic capital. We've got 18 professional team owners across 4 major sports. We've got 24 elite athletes that have put their own money in, right? Similar to what Marc was saying. That want to be able to learn more, and then kind of titans of industry, downstream capital, large private equity funds, crossover hedge funds. So our bar is very high on institutional capital. How do we return multiples for each investment we make, right? So very quantitative based, research-backed, thesis-driven approach across the board. We see, getting back to even the kind of the name of the panel and some of the things you highlighted, this evolution from what was just endorsement, Gatorade, give us your name, image, likeness, and sit on the sidelines. This evolution around, well, I have an authentic understanding and liking and curiosity around your business, and I feel like I can add a lot of value, not just a spike in, likes and kind of spike on social media, but long-term commitment that puts the athlete and athlete as an influencer in the mindset of being an operator and a partner, a long-term partner. That is somewhat self-selecting, right? Not every player is going to be able to do that. And it's sifting through and vetting not only entrepreneurs, but vetting athletes that you want to tie in and have long-term relationships with, setting those expectations, right? But vetting them just like you would an entrepreneur as well.
Right.
For the fit, everything else as well. And we've got great examples. We've got some amazing companies in our fund. We've got a company this year, out of our second fund, they'll do $200 million of EBITDA with like crazy.
Wow.
Should be able to pay out dividends twice a year. We see deep disruption in the model for influence overall, but athletes as influence as well. We've backed Tiger Woods, Roy McIlroy, in their holding company TGL. Tomorrow Sports, the holding company, their new property TGL. Shaun White's Global Action Sports League, the Snow League, we're in that with Aries Management, and David Blitzer as well. So some great opportunities there. Also work with and the largest investor with a company called Youth Incorporated, Greg Olson, former NFL football player, now a Fox broadcaster, and this content to commerce flywheel. But each one of those groups, each one of those people think about themselves as operators and entrepreneurs as well in this long-term vision.
Rather than just talent.
Exactly.
And then I'd love to hear from you as well, Isaiah. What difference do you think the celebrity makes? So if that celebrity hadn't been involved and hadn't invested and hadn't promoted, do you think the businesses would have succeeded anyway in terms of presumably the companies that you back could do well without the celebrity. What extra bit does that celebrity endorsement add?
Those specific businesses, like the celebrity is actually like unbelievably important.
Yeah.
For that, because in the end, anyone can have an idea. It's tying this with where people they're going to have. I look at it like this, where you have this authentic buy-in, you have this long-term vision. There's an emotional distribution and an unlock for a brand that sometimes takes years or decades to build. You can almost do that, not overnight, but you can really accelerate that process in a lot of different ways. And also, if you think about this as well, different types of models, we're about to finalize it. I can't say what it is. We're about to finalize a really, really big deal, massive basketball influencer, massive following as well. You start to think about launching brands. If you look at Mr. Beast is a great example.
Oh
right?
my goodness.
Done an amazing
Chocolate.
job launching
Huge.
brands. And monetizing. You have a very efficient customer acquisition model, right? You have a captive audience. You have early adopters on what you do. That looks highly attractive, right? And a lot of those influencers, if they're athletes or not, they think about their own business as entrepreneurs as well, right? Taking that same mindset across the board. But having that built-in distribution is unbelievably huge, and it becomes really attractive to create big brands across the board.
Right.
And there's other great examples like Kim Kardashian with Skims, Kelly Bieber just exiting
Cool. Well, Hailey
over $1 billion
Bieber, we were
as
talking
well.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to disagree with you, but I'm going to add a twist. Is I think that the celebrity can be the big impact for the business, but if there's not a strong team and there's not
100%.
a team that can handle it,
100%.
like Kim K is a great example. I was just going to bring it up. If you look at the amount of deals she did and the amount of successful outcomes of the company's deals, it's actually a low percentage.
Very low.
Those companies couldn't handle it.
No.
When they brought that stuff, they didn't have a management team that was able to scale, handle that stuff. So like, it's also
But having
understanding
Jens
when to
made the
do
difference.
when to do that deal. Like, and I've known Kim since she used to promote clubs for me in Los Angeles like 20 some odd years ago. So I have a different relationship with her. And they're like, why don't you do something with Kim right off the bat? I'm like, because we don't have the ability at that point. It was a smaller tech that like, okay, if all of a sudden 1 million downloads came in, we'd be out of business.
Yeah.
So like not knowing, and a lot of those deals that she did, she brought all this thing and then the companies crumbled.
So this has to be the
Yeah, for sure. You have to have a team that can actually catch the ball.
100%. That's table stakes. You have to have an amazing operating team, typically with amazing experience. And with Skim, she got that. She absolutely got one of the top-notch teams.
And she partnered. She went to one of the best fashion people. She went to
Emma and Jens.
Theory. She went to Andrew, who's like has been doing fashion for decades. Which the story behind that is it was actually she got to Andrew because Kanye was trying to get Andrew to do his line.
Look at that.
And Andrew kept turning him down. He's like, I don't think you have the vision. She came in, and he really was obsessed with her vision and backed her and scaled that thing. And he owns the largest piece of it. But without a big team and brand behind that can handle it, Skims wouldn't be Skims. She's got an amazing vision, but needed a producer, a manufacturer, a marketer who knows how to do fashion that way.
I think
I'd
it's
love
also,
to bring. Sorry,
just one thing to add to Marc's. It's not just the team; it's also the story that you're telling with that athlete or celebrity and what they stand for. Because if you're trying to, if they were known for one thing on the field and then you're trying to tell a different story,
no one's buying it.
Right through it. And building that positioning on the storyline, even if they have 20, 30, 40 million followers on Instagram, and you're trying to migrate them to YouTube, which is a whole different platform, different audience, different demographic, then you got to be authentic. Otherwise, they'll just see right through it and it won't grow.
Indeed. So, Ibrahim, if I can bring you in from the continent's perspective, because you touched on what's going on with some of the content that you're investing in for Nigeria, the Ethiopian, and Brazil. But I think one of the areas that is really overlooked is what's happening in Africa in terms of the explosion in regards to the demography of the continent. Data that people often overlook is by 2030, over 40% of the world's youth will be African. By 2050, 1 in 3 people on the planet will be African. So for any brand, for any business, you have to have an Africa strategy if you are future focused. So I'd love you to talk about how you're looking at things, because you're almost coming at it from the opposite of what we're used to, which is businesses start in the West and then they sort of then transfer to the global South. So you're doing it the other way around. Can you speak to that and what you see the future of that as being, as well as how that relates to high-profile talent?
Sure. So I think to answer that, one book that I've always been obsessed with is *Sapien* by Yuval Harari.
Yeah.
And I think if you dig into the book, you understand that the emancipation of that medium-sized animal called human
Yes.
to dominate Earth is fundamentally anchored around fictions, which is just synonymous of stories. So I agree with all these gentlemen that the influencer plays a role, but fundamentally, if you look at the dichotomy between BYD and Tesla, one makes a lot more revenue and profit. The other one has lower revenue and not profitable. The one that has lower revenue, that has a character called Elon Musk, has a valuation that's exactly 10 times higher than the one that's winning at all metrics. And you can get the point that the story plays a critical role in our civilization. If you look at the fact now in terms of sports, if any sport that you take, one of the dominant actor has often been from Africa. But nobody cares necessarily of your passport if you're delivering quality. So that philosophy is really what we're trying to take about business. Because basically, if you're a formidable athlete, Paris Saint-Germain or French team will be 95% African, but it will be labeled French. And nobody at that moment, there's an argument as to where the talent is from. But what matters, the quality and the winner of that label. So I think that core philosophy is what we really take across, where those metrics you spell out about Africa becoming a growing force. But I think you can already sense a lot of it, whether you're here in Saudi or in Starbucks in New York, you'll get increasing Afrobeat, Amapiano, like the background is just increasingly with that element. But I think fundamentally, if quality is at the end intersection, nobody cares. So I think what we're trying to push with any African founder, entrepreneur we back, is prioritize quality. Because people don't select out of passport, they select out of the end product. We all forget to realize that the most famous religion that we practice, whether it's Christianity or Judaism, emanated from this side, but it's globally adopted and globally claimed in terms of label. But it's all the founders came from here. So I think that general philosophy is what we espouse, that basically if you push the envelope of quality, your story is solid, adoption will come naturally.
Right.
And that basically is the story of balance sheet. Because if you see balance sheet of all the top market cap companies you see, you'll see that their tangible value is a lot of times, sometimes 40 times lower than the market value. So which shows you the level of dependence we have as a civilization towards fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
It's all the story.
totally. Quality, authenticity,
Yeah.
Genuine. I mean, all those words. I mean, water reaches its own level in that regard.
Yes.
So, like, you have to have that, for any of this to work. And I
Yeah.
think, when we even look at some of these deals on the celebs, talents, DJs, whatever it is, in any way, we almost look at it as like kind of like venture investing. So we spot the talent early on.
Yeah.
We'll do deals where we'll, whether it's a DJ or artist or someone that we really feel is going to be big in a few years,
Yeah.
we'll do like a 5-year deal, buy a certain number of performances, invest in them up front, like do a deal where we'll pay cash up front.
You get
and
them
then
early.
Get them early, and then when they're booking for $5,000 a night or something, and then 3 years from now they're getting $200,000 a night, but
You still
we
got
look at
all
it
the
as
time.
investing, and we gave them that capital, but we know that game. We know who's going to be,
And does that something that now, Mark, has become intuitive for you? Like, you can just tell this person
Yeah.
has something.
like going back to Kim, like it's a great example. Like I knew the second I met her, I'm like, she's going to be a force.
Wow.
And she wasn't anything. She was
Yeah.
just, no one knew her.
Well, she was Paris's PA in the
yeah,
beginning.
she was like, again, like we were doing liquor deals with her. She was wearing promo gear for us and walking in fashion shows as like but you knew like she was the one who, if the start time was 6 p.m., she was there at 5:45, prepped, like did her research. I'm like, wow, this is the most like best promo girl I've ever worked with.
Work ethic.
I'm like, the work ethic of this woman
Yeah.
was so sharp. And then as she grew, I was like, she's gonna be a beast. Like you knew it, you just could
Felt
tell.
it. Wow.
See,
Yeah.
Mark's nailing home the point, right? It's almost self-selecting where you can see
Yeah.
talent that meets work ethic and seriousness, and that came out right early, and that's what you see. And it's not for everyone, but if there's bigger aspirations outside of the field, outside the rink, outside
stage,
the court,
whatever.
whatever
Yeah.
it is, you're going to see that carry through. And you talk about. I talk to athletes all the time, like particularly like start thinking about like what's next. And I'm sure you guys have done this as well. And it's really kind of boils down to like this realization of like, you think about how hard you worked to get to the pinnacle of the sport that you're playing. Point that in, like when you're done, point that in,
energy.
or even before,
Yeah.
point that in another direction
And
just give you time
Yeah.
and just keep plugging, and you're going to find your way.
Especially if you've built great IP
Yes.
in
100%.
an AI-driven world, which most of the chat's here now, so I'm going to introduce.
Great point.
In an AI-driven world in which you don't know what's right, what's true or not, when athletes specifically, but any celebrity, including the Kardashians, they create a level of IP that is so valuable, and if you keep that and you build on top
And
of it,
protect
then
that.
it will basically outperform anything, despite what may happen across any type of content consumption with AI.
Wow.
And I can give you another
Please.
example
Yeah.
in our geography how it manifested this whole building the story and influence. The basketball team we bought in South Africa did not exist 4 years ago. So a series of African Americans came, built it, so no history. Year one, national champion of the country. Second year, national champion, and then starts playing in the NBA. We get the biggest Afrobeat singer, Mr. Easy, that lives in
We
Ghana,
love Mr. Easy.
becomes a shareholder, and then we basically get a former Lakers coach. And then obviously when you tally those three, you basically
Elevate.
stand out from the crowd. Dwayne Wade finds us and places his son with us. So a lot of people give us the credit of sourcing him, but the story that was crafted is what made him find us. And subsequently, we got owners of teams in the US coming into the cap table and other Hollywood stars. But fundamentally, I would argue that it's always about some of this point of architecting the story, building an IP, and try to condition the future.
Yeah.
And that's, when you look at it in all facets, it's often that choreography.
Yeah, I love it. Well, we have 1 minute left, gentlemen. So if you could, in 20 seconds each, tell us if there's anything that you're working on that you're excited about and that may be possibly open for business. So, Juan.
I work in football, soccer, so the World Cup next year, coming to probably the world's biggest ATM, is going to be very exciting for us, and I think it will beat all metrics, including for our business. So that is what we're working on now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we're working on something which is actually going to be great for this region also. But we're disrupting hospitality and how the table experience kind of goes when, especially as liquor is declining and it's dry here,
Yeah.
right? But how do you create a model where there's these beach clubs that are coming in town and all these nightclubs, and you're trying to sell a table for $20,000 when liquor used to be the conduit?
What is that now?
What's the next conduit? Which is we've partnered with some of the biggest luxury brands out of Paris, and instead of which also own the liquor companies, but like why not let them buy bags, shoes, houseware, whatever it is? Why make it just be liquor? Though all of a sudden, if you could buy a table here and you're getting a bag or shoes for your $20,000 spend, and you have $20,000 of XYZ brand.
And better for your liver too.
Better for everything, and you don't feel like an idiot for buying a table. Now you're like, actually, I like what I just spent the money.
Yeah, very smart. And Dorsia cards are...
We built all the tech to integrate all the POS and inventory systems, and how you can actually buy the table, and all the merchandise is there, and so that's what we're
doing
getting ready
now.
to
Brilliant.
launch.
Thank you.
We've got very exciting things going on with Fund 1, Fund 2. Fund 2 is a top quartile fund. We'll have 4 companies that will do over $300 million of revenue.
Amazing.
Very, very excited. We're working on 3 deals right now that should close between now and Q1. One, a pretty amazing longevity deal. We're elite athletes, early adopters, but really that kind of resonates with broader society. We all want to take guesswork how we can feel our best. And then a basketball play, and then a golf play with one of the top players in the world as well.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, we're excited.
Fantastic. Ibrahim?
So two exciting projects. The Africa Warrior Fighting Champion, as mentioned earlier, the number I forgot to spell out is the platform collected 950 million views. That's shy of 1 billion.
Wow.
From fights in random places in Nigeria.
My goodness.
That has become a beast, and that's really getting us excited. We're going to enter the phase over the next 2 to 3 years to export those fights outside the geography and start to have events in places like here. So it's very exciting. So we always including other partners. And last, if anybody's ever curious about business in Africa, check out our podcast. It's called In the Valley Podcast.
Oh.
We have a lot of people that are evolving in intersection of the US, tech, and entertainment and sports that are regular guests.
Brilliant. Love that. Well, thank you so much. Can we have a round of applause for our panel? Thank you.